All right, so moving on to the final segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the MLB divisional round. I'll be sharing my thoughts on what has transpired so far in the MLB divisional round. So I'll start off with the American League, and then I'll move on to the National League. So in the American League, you have the number one seeded New York Yankees taking on the fifth seeded Kansas City Royals. Now this series is tied 1-1 right now in the divisional round. Now, I will say I was impressed by the New York Yankees. Game 1 victory, 6-5 was a pretty good game, a pretty good performance by both teams. But the Yankees got the better of the Royals in Game 1. You had Alex Verdugo hitting that tie-breaking hit to help the Yankees win this game at 6-5, hitting that hit in the 7th inning of that ball game. But then I'm looking at what the Royals did last night. They had an impressive Game 2 victory, winning that game on the road against the New York Yankees 4-2. Salvador Perez hit the home run in the 4th inning to help the Kansas City Royals offense get going. And the Royals did a pretty good job pitching-wise last night against the Yankee stars of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who could not get going last night in New York. They had a batting combined. The batting numbers were 1 for 7 batting in that game between Aaron Judge and Juan Soto in Game 2. I believe that the Yankees will still win this series. I think it's going to go to Game 5, though, between the Yankees and the Royals, truthfully. But the Yankees got to be careful here because now the momentum is in the Royals after that big Game 2 victory. You're going to Kansas City with a lot of fans that were happy last night watching the Monday Night Football game between the Chiefs and Saints chanting, "Let's go Royals." But the Yankees got to be careful here because the Royals can easily steal away Game 3, and that could possibly keep the Royals going on, moving forward in the playoffs if they win that ball game. So it's put up or shut up time right now. Game 3 is going to be very important for the New York Yankees. Now, moving on to the next game in the AL, in the American League, you have the second-seeded Indian Guardians taking on the sixth-seeded Detroit Tigers. That series actually tied 1-1 right now. Now, Game 1, the Guardians absolutely destroyed the Tigers. Impressive shutout victory, winning that game 7-0. And really, the Guardians got going early in that ball game and never looked back. They started up in the first inning being up 2-0. With Lane Thomas hitting a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first to help the Guardians win, to help the Guardians go up 5-0, and then which led to the Guardians winning that ball game 7-0. So the Guardians looked pretty unstoppable in Game 1, but then the Tigers responded well in Game 2 with their own revenge of Kerry Carpenter hitting a three-run home run to help the Tigers win that ball game yesterday 3-0. So I do believe that this series is going to 5, but I got to go with the Tigers. I got to back the Tigers in this one. I think they're going to go on a magical run, something that the fan base of Detroit and the fan base of the Tigers have been waiting for a long time. They haven't seen it in a long time. I just trust them right now because they took care of business against a well-oiled machine in the Houston Astros in the wild card round. And then they're fighting. Now they're showing some grit and determination fighting back against this Guardians team. So I think the Tigers can win this series. I think they're going to win it in 5 and steal it in Cleveland. So we'll look out for that. Now let's move on to the National League here. You have the second-seeded Philadelphia Phillies taking on the sixth-seeded New York Mets. And the Mets lead this series right now 2-1. Now, this is a matchup, a rivalry. These two rivals can't get away from each other, obviously being rivals in the NL East. But the Mets had a huge comeback victory game. I would say the Mets had a huge comeback in the top of the 8th for Game 1 when they found themselves down 1-0, scoring 6 runs in the 8th and the top of the 8th and the 9th, helping the Mets win that game 6-2 in Game 1. But then the Phillies responded in Game 2 with Nick Castellanos' game-winning hit to drive the Phillies in to win that ball game 7-6. So that was, but then Game 3 transpired today, And the Mets dominated Game 3 today. I mean, they won that game 7-2. That was a great performance by the Mets, getting that victory against the Phillies today, 7-2. Pete Alonso set the tone, hitting that home run in the second inning to help the Mets going offensively. Then Jesse Winker, their DH for today, hit a homer in the fourth inning as well. So the Mets, and that only led to them contributing to this Mets big 7-2 victory in Game 3. Now, with the momentum heading into Game 4, and the Mets being in New York for Game 4, I think they're going to put the Phillies away. I think the Mets have full control. They have the momentum, and being up 2-1, all you need is one more game in the best of 5. I think the Mets are going to put away this Phillies team. I think they just sent a message to them in Game 3. They're rolling offensively. The Phillies, I don't know if they could dig themselves out of this hole. So I like the Mets advancing to the next round in the MLB playoffs here. Now, the final game that's going on in the playoffs in the divisional round, you have the number 1 seeded Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the 4th seeded San Diego Padres. Now, this series is currently tied 1-1, but this ball game is actually happening right now as I record this segment. So as I look at the score, the Padres are actually up 6-5 at the top of the 5th inning right now in this respective game. But I will cover Game 1 and Game 2 for you guys. But right now, I mean, from what I saw Game 1, the Dodgers look pretty good and pretty impressive. Shohei Ohtani came to play in his playoff debut, hitting that 3-run homer to help the Dodgers win that ball game 7-1. And then the Padres responded pretty well in Game 2, hitting a total of 6 home runs to win that game in Game 2, 10-2. I still believe the Dodgers win this in 5, but it should be a fun series, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Padres do get the better of the Dodgers in this series. That's the series. That's really the matchup that everybody wanted to see in the NL in the playoffs between these two respective NL West rivals between the Dodgers and the Padres. But that is my MLB divisional round summary thus far. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.